Hello everyone, welcome once again to Books Wale Bhaiya. I'm Abhishek. Today I'm talking about the book Do Epic Shit by Ankur Warikoo. While this book is making headlines and I'm really impressed by the book, I have to start this video with a confession. When the book came out, I wasn't much interested in reading this book. I thought it's just another self-improvement book with an entrepreneur talking about self-development, success, and everything. It is already there on so many platforms. So many books have been written, but Ankur proved me wrong, and I must say it's a fantastic book. And all my preconceived notions about this book were proven wrong. So what actually interested me in this book was when I picked it up at a bookstore just browsing through the pages, what impressed me most was Ankur's honesty in admitting his mistakes. And that was the reason I picked up this book, and well, I definitely loved it. So in the initial part of the book, he talks about success, of course, which is what this book is about. He links success and failure. He says that in his own successes, failures have played a very important role. And he said you can't actually look at the two separately. Failures are what becomes the stepping stones to success. The two are kind of intertwined. So he looks at success through the failure of prism. And it's after this that he talks about his mistakes, and which as I said, I found to be something really great, because it's very easy to talk about your success, your achievement, but it takes a lot of courage to pen down your failures and your mistakes. And mind you, when he talks about his mistakes, there's a long list of the mistakes he has put. So he has written about the mistakes he made in his 20s, and then the mistakes he made in his 30s. In the two different phases of life, he has talked about what mistakes he made, like taking up a lot of loan, a lot of debt, sleeping odd hours. When he became an entrepreneur in his job, trying to please everyone. When he became an entrepreneur, he selected people just on the basis of their flashy resumes. And there is a long list. And it is at this point of time that you actually feel like you are not reading a book by an entrepreneur or by someone who is a graduate from a very premier prestigious business school. He's a ISB graduate. You feel like as if it's your own elder brother or your cousin, guiding you about life, that hey, I made these mistakes, so as an elder brother, I'm suggesting you do not do this. So, and this is where you feel a kind of, I can say, bond with a connection with the author. And mind you, I'm someone who reads a lot of books. I don't find that bond or connection with every author. So this is, I would say, reading his mistakes in this way is something I really liked, and that's one of the key reasons why I love this book. And what I liked most there in when he talked about his mistakes, when he said about hope. So he said that we all hope that things will be better in the future, but he makes it very clear that hope is not a strategy. Hope can never be a strategy. You have to find solutions for everything. And mind you, this is something I really would say this is a powerful message he has given. The next chapter is about habits, and he makes a very important point about habits. He says that instead of setting up goals, set up habits, because it's actually these habits which will take you towards your goal. And while in habits, he mentions it very clearly that it's like an input output thing. So he gave an example of, you want to get into if your goal is to get up early in the morning and say do a workout or whatever, then your habit actually has to be sleeping on time. And you have to understand things from this perspective, that what you are putting in is what you will eventually get. It's like the input output thing. And habits, when he says that habits are very important, and habits are such that it's kind of ingrained. It cannot be a one time or two time thing. They have to become a part of you, and only then can habits do something and lead to attainment of your goals. And he emphasizes it a lot, that rather than focusing on goals, focus on making good habits. The third chapter, which is called awareness, and which is my favorite chapter in this book, wherein he talks about decisions. So while we often say that someone made a wrong decision or a right decision, or someone is good at making decisions or bad at making decisions, he mentions it, he makes it very clear that when you make decisions, it should be from the point of view of awareness of the situation and not ignorance. Nothing in this world can guarantee whether a decision would be right or wrong, but what you can do is that your decision should be made from the point of view of awareness of the situation at that point of time. I mean, he says, I made a lot of decisions in my life. I cannot say which one was absolutely right, which one was wrong, but he is sure that when he took those decisions, it was from the point of awareness of the situation, and he realized that this is the best he can actually do. And in talking about decisions, he also highlights another very important point about taking decisions and thinking about what others will think of. So he says that external validation is something we must not have, we must not think about. And this is especially important in the age of social media, wherein people are just putting things on social media and seeking some kind of validation from people, whether they find me good, whether I posted a picture of in holiday, or something, I got a new car, how many people are liking it. He says, though he doesn't explicitly mention social media, he says that this external validation is actually dangerous. If you think you are right, it's your own conscience who should be the guide and not validation from other people. Once again, I would say something very powerful point and something to think about. This next chapter is entrepreneurship. He has been an entrepreneur since almost about 2009. And well, let me be blunt that Ankur is very blunt here. He has been an entrepreneur, but he mentions very clearly it's not an easy thing to do. And one must not be an entrepreneur just because he's fascinated by things like, having your own business and hiring a team. With this all sounds very fascinating, tempting, but it's not an easy job. He mentions it very explicitly. And therein also he talks about his mistakes, his failures as an entrepreneur, and what others should be considerate of, think about when they start up. And he raises one very important point about funding. Now, usually in this age of mass media and instant news, we get fascinated by which startup raised how much money. But he makes it clear that, in a very humorous way, that congratulating an entrepreneur on the basis of money he received is like congratulating a chef just because he bought vegetables. So he makes it very clear that this is not the reason to actually celebrate. It's not an entitlement, it's an obligation when you get money, because there is a funder, there is some venture capitalist or someone who wants a return on his investment. So when you get money, it's just a start, and you should never look at your entrepreneurial success through that how much money have we raised. It is about getting things done and not just getting money raised from some VC or someone. So yes, as I said, makes it amply clear it's not at all an easy job. So this doesn't mean he wants to discourage anyone, but yeah, that is the reality which he has made very clear in his book. The next chapter is about money, and yes, he talked about his personal experiences with money. And what I liked is when he talks that what money actually brings. Money brings freedom to do what you want. And he said this is how we should actually view money, that money brings you freedom to do whatever you want. But at the same time, while money is very, very important, but just running after money is the biggest waste of your time and your life. And he has also talked about the various mistakes he made with money. For example, as he mentions, he lived on debt for a large amount of time, which he now realizes is his biggest mistake. When he had debt, he used it for funding his startups and not paying off his debt. Something like buying a house on the basis of a loan is something also he disagrees with. So on the basis of his mistakes, he gives you a lot of suggestions. It's not a money management he's talking about. He's not guiding you how to invest and where to invest, but what should be your attitude towards money and what you can learn from his mistakes. Once again, a lot of practical advice, I would say, in this chapter as well. The last chapter is about relationships, wherein he has talked about relationship with parents as well as his kids, as he's a father. And what I loved most was the small letters he wrote to his kids. So as if he wants to explain certain things to his kids about life, about success, about money, about many things. And these are very, very beautifully written, and that is something which I would say everyone must read. I mean, even if you are not interested in reading about success and everything, but no matter what you prefer to read, do read those letters and make sure that your kids also read something similar, especially when they are little kids. So well, this is it. I would repeat, read this book for Ankur's honesty, which I would say is the most important reason I read this book and I liked this book. Before I finish the video, I would like to mention certain quotes which I loved in this book. There are about 9 or 10 quotes. Please listen to them very carefully because they are something I would say very, very meaningful. The first one is, my relationship with success has been driven largely by my relationship with multiple failures. The next is, a year from now, you will wish you had started today. Well, I think everyone in some way can resonate with that. And the third one, which is the third and fourth, which are my favorites. If you often worry about what people will think of you, you'll often end up doing what people want you to do. And the next one is, if your happiness depends on external validation, then your happiness depends on something you do not control. Well, the next is, money can buy you stuff, but the biggest thing it buys is freedom. And it is this freedom he says that everyone should pursue and not stuff. This one is again a very beautiful quote that emotional debt has killed more people than financial debt ever will. Emotional debt, log kya kahenge, what will people think? It has killed more people than financial debt ever will. Do not confuse calmness with a lack of fire. And this is because I personally have seen a lot of time people do confuse, not confuse, but they interpret calmness as if someone is calm or quiet, they think he lacks that energy, that fire, which he says is definitely not the case. Instead of worrying about what might happen, anticipate what might happen. Just memorize it, keep it on your desk. Something I would say extremely important. Do not worry, but anticipate at what might happen. The last one is, a meaningful job need not be one that completely consumes our whole life. No matter how much it pays you, no matter you have become very successful or whatever, but it just cannot consume a whole life. There's life beyond office, there's life beyond Excel sheet, there's life beyond those laptops. Thank you very much for watching my video. I hope you liked the video. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more updates. Thank you.